So every February, we have an opportunity as a community to commemorate Shabbat together. And as part of that Shabbat, we always have the blessing of learning from a speaker, an expert, someone in our community or perhaps in the greater Houston community who can share their insights on how we can increase our togetherness here at Congregation Beth Yeshurun. This evening, it's a pleasure to welcome one of our fellow members who has a lot to teach us, and that's our friend Judy Blake. Judy is the program coordinator for Family to Family Network, a Houston nonprofit that provides programs that empower families of children and young adults with disabilities as they navigate the complex special education, healthcare, and disabilities service systems. Through training, they help individuals with disabilities and their family members define and achieve success for themselves and their loved ones, creating opportunities and possibilities where others see barriers. She strives to change attitudes so that every individual can achieve their best life. Judy is so involved in multiple organizations that benefit our greater community. She serves on the board and is a family faculty member for the Lone Star Lend program, is the co-coordinator of the Harris County Community Resource Collaboration Group, is chairperson of the Baker Ripley Health Services Advisory Committee. She serves on the board of the University of Houston Clear Lake Center for Autism and Developmental Disabilities. She participates in Project DOCC, Delivery of Chronic Care, sharing the lived experience of medical students and residents regarding the journey of raising an adult son with disabilities. And she serves 2 public advisory committees for the Harris Center for Mental Health and IDD. In addition, she's the very proud single mother of Ryan, a wonderful 26-year-old man who was born with autism spectrum disorder, which at the time was unknown to many. She quickly became his advocate, always ensuring that he was living a meaningful life. And she has succeeded. And it is an honor now to welcome Judy Blake to our Bima.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Have you visited, how am I doing there, Phil? Have you visited the new kosher restaurant that only serves people with disabilities? How about the new Home Depot that only serves people with disabilities? Wait a minute. That's right. That's because they don't exist, nor should they. Words could never express how honored I am to stand before you to discuss why inclusion is so important for people with disabilities. Receiving the phone call from Lily Hurwitz, thank you Lily and Richard Cameraman and the Inclusion Committee, that they wanted me to present was truly humbling for me. Each one of us is brought into this world. We have goals, we have dreams, we have hopes, and we want them to come true. Everyone is born into this world included, yet it is society that chooses to segregate people that it believes are different. Can you imagine how this makes people with disabilities feel? I am here to tell you that different is not less than. The definition of inclusion is the practice or policy of providing equal access to opportunities and resources for people who might otherwise be excluded or marginalized, such as those who have physical or mental health disabilities and members of minority groups. People with disabilities are typically devalued and placed into one category. Many in our society believe they don't have feelings, can't make their own decisions, or participate in society in significant ways. Yet so many studies show the exact opposite. When will we all learn that every human being has their own unique strengths and abilities? Please don't misunderstand me. We concentrate on diversity and inclusion of people from different ethnicities, religious beliefs, generations, genders, and sexual orientation. This is important, and we should focus on this. Yet when it comes to inclusion of people with disabilities, we kind of tend to fall short. We also miss the boat when it comes to addressing neurodiversity. There is tremendous stigma cast upon people who are different than us and perceived as not being normal. I want you to know that normal is the setting on your dishwasher or washing machine. It does not apply to people. You may be listening to this and thinking, this really doesn't apply to me. Doesn't apply to my family, so really, why should I care? I've had people tell me that they don't have any family members with disabilities. Really? Really? Statistically speaking, disability affects 26% of the people in the United States. According to the CDC, that means 1 in 4 people. 61 million people. Many people with disabilities are marginalized in school, their place of worship, but not Beth Yeshurun, let me clarify that, the community, and in the workplace. It can even be worse for people with invisible disabilities. People with mental health disabilities, including schizophrenia, anxiety, depression, they want to lead meaningful lives and to be a part of our community. People with developmental disabilities, including autism, cerebral palsy, learning differences, and intellectual disabilities, they want to be contributing members of society. We have made progress. Believe me, I know we have made progress. But it's not enough. The stigma still exists, and the challenge is to break down these barriers so that everyone, regardless of their ability, is reaching their full potential. Society tends to judge by what they see. And if they can see the disability with their own eyes, they think they understand that person's life and their challenges. What happens when you can't see the disability? When it comes to small children, we understand the tantrums and the unusual behaviors because this can be typical for young children. But what happens when children grow up and they have those tantrums that really now are more like meltdowns, and they are adolescents or adults? Sadly, we become judgmental. We make assumptions. We may distance our children and ourselves because those people are different. Is this the message that we want to send to our children? Children and adults with disabilities are targets of abuse and bullying because they will always be considered less powerful. We will never know the true numbers because so much goes unreported. It is so important to remember that all children learn what they live. If we as adults do not respect and value all human beings, both young and not so young, then we are sending another terrible message to our children. As Rabbi Strauss mentioned, I am the very proud mother of an amazing 26-year-old man with autism and other co-occurring disabilities. And yes, he too was bullied when he was younger. They were some of the most painful years for him and for me. I am very concerned about people like my son who have those invisible disabilities. They look so typical on the outside, yet they're very different on the inside. They're what we call neurodiverse in the disability community. My son loves to play video games, see the latest movie on the big screen, and loves to go out to eat. He's just like everyone else. Is my son welcomed by everyone? I must be honest and tell you that he is not. Is this hard for me? Does it make me sad? Every single day. I won't speak for all people with disabilities, but I can tell you this. Every person that I have encountered, and that is a lot of people through the years, They want friendship. They want to be valued, be accepted for who they are, and opportunities afforded to them just like their peers. It's important to remember that inclusion is not just having people with disabilities physically present, it's a feeling of being welcomed and loved and appreciated. Don't think for a moment that because someone has an intellectual disability or any disability, that they don't have feelings. I promise you they do. They have those feelings, and you should care. I thank God we no longer have these massive institutions from the 1950s and 60s where people with disabilities were warehoused under horrific conditions. If you're not sure what I'm referring to, please Google Christmas in Purgatory. You will be horrified. One home was called Land of the Living Dead. So-called patients of these institutions were placed in solitary confinement with hands tied and legs bound. They were stripped of all dignity. Why does it matter so much to me to educate and empower people with disabilities and their families? It is to make sure that we never, ever go back to the days when children with disabilities could not even attend school, when adults with disabilities were segregated from society, when life was chosen for them with no regard for their happiness or their potential. Our incredible Rabbi Strauss and his amazing wife, Lisa, are taking congregants to Poland and Germany. One of the reasons they are doing this is to ensure that we never forget the past and make sure that it is never repeated. The same holds true for people with disabilities. We continue to segregate people with disabilities and will sometimes say, it's really for their health and safety as to why we should separate them from the general public. I believe we should ask the person with the disability or their family what they want. I am a huge proponent of person-centered thinking and person-centered planning. There is a wonderful saying in the disability community, nothing about me without me. This emphasizes that decisions about people with disabilities should be made by people with disabilities. Don't we all want the freedom to choose in our lives? People with disabilities, they are no exception. I believe that inclusion begins in the home with parents, grandparents, family members setting an example. My son is terrified of the flames of a candle. In recent years, we light electric Shabbat candles and an electric menorah. I'm very happy for those inventions, let me tell you. This is so crucial to me so that he too can meaningfully be included in Jewish life and customs. When we go to the movies, I always make accommodations for him so he can enjoy just like everyone else. He always has an aisle seat because he usually needs to get up and pace. Sitting too long can really be challenging for him. I would never want to disrupt the enjoyment of others, and he knows where he can stand or walk around without disturbing the audience. Keep in mind that this is our choice. When we go to restaurants, you can imagine some of the looks that we get while he is flapping his hands, talking to himself, or pacing. Doesn't bother me. I'm just happy that we are out in the community. He used to love to attend Shabbat services as a child. We went to many Atat Shabbat, and he loved the experience. This changed during adolescence, and even more so in his adult years. He knows the synagogue is a safe place, but he doesn't have the same feelings as I do when I worship with the community. I would give anything for his feelings to change. The few times he has attended with me, he has that aisle seat and we sit in the back. I would never want to interrupt the worship experience for my fellow congregants while he is pacing or talking to himself. Again, this is our choice. Other people with disabilities might want to sit in the front. Shouldn't the decision be left up to the person with the disability and their family? I love introducing Ryan to the clergy and people I know because this lays the foundation for that sense of community. I know in my heart that Ryan is not outgoing like I am. And as his parent, I accept that it is what it is, and he is who he is. I will continue to try and expose him to the community because it is that chance that he will make the connection with someone, and just maybe a friendship will develop. So what can you do to make a difference? Go up to someone at synagogue. Introduce yourself. Welcome them. Encourage your children to ask someone sitting by themselves at lunch, at school. Ask them to join them. Ask them to join them on the playground. Hire someone who has a disability. Please don't be scared. People with disabilities are reliable and they want to work. My son is one of them and looking for a part-time job in an office. He types 53 words a minute, performs data entry, he can collate packets, deliver mail, run errands in the building, and he even comes with a free job coach who knows him well and will support him in the workplace. There are so many people like Ryan. They have strengths, they can strengthen your workplace and make important contributions. They may not have eye contact, they may not have social skills, but they are devoted and eager to please. You can make a difference, and so can your children. As our rabbis have so eloquently reminded us in previous sermons, they have quoted the words of Rabbi Hillel in Ethics of Our Fathers. If I am not for myself, who will be for me? And if I am only for myself, what am I? And if not now, then when? Again, I thank the Inclusion Committee for including me in this very meaningful Shabbat. I'm truly grateful to stand before you and wish everyone a good Shabbos.
So thank you so much to Judy Blake for all the work that she does in our community, for our children, for our parents, for their parents, for helping this be a place for more people to have what they need as a synagogue and as a city. And in recognition of all of the work that you do and for coming here and sharing who you are and what you do and why it's so important with us, I want to present you with a very nice certificate in recognition of all of your work coming here tonight and in general. So thank you so much. I'll do what I can. Yasher koach again to Judy for your powerful words and your lived experience as an advocate for the disabled and their loved ones, as well as the mother of, she mentioned, a beautiful son with disabilities. Judy helps all of us to see the humanity in people who are so often thought of as without humanity, which is so counter to how Jewish text urges us to think about our fellow human beings. In the very first book of the Torah, during the creation of the world, we learn that Vayivra Elohim et ha'adam b'tzalmo, that the very first person on whom all others were fashioned was created b'tzelem Elohim, in the image of God. And our medieval rabbis urge us to remember that this line serves to teach us that there is inherent holiness, inherent divinity in every single person, and that to overlook another human being, to think less of them, to care less for them, is to disregard something divine. So thank you again to Judy for all the work that you do to remind us of all of the needs that still exist that is incumbent upon us to fulfill. Thank you to all who made Shabbat Together possible, all the members of the Inclusion Committee who have served our congregation for years. Its mission, the committee's mission, is to promote opportunities for the participation of Jewish people with physical, mental, developmental, or psychological impairments and disabilities, including them and their families in all aspects of synagogue life. It has worked towards this goal by providing assistive devices, you saw some as you walked in, as well as support structures throughout the synagogue, as well as offering programs and events in the synagogue and supporting community efforts in education. This is the 12th year that we celebrate Jewish Disability Awareness and Inclusion Month with our dedicated Shabbat Together. And a huge thank you, because this is no small part due to our entire Inclusion Committee, the tireless efforts of all the members, including and especially co-chairs Richard Kammerman and Rachel Zuckman for the work that they do. So thank you to all of you.